If you grew up as a Christian in the 80s and 90s, your idea of a Christian film is something like this.
I'm telling you, they're not here. They're not anywhere. They're left behind. The people are gone.
But this is what Christian cinema is today.
People from all over this plane have simply vanished.
Yes, that is Nicolas Cage. If you look at the Wikipedia page for Christian films, in the early 2000s there's only a handful each year. But then in 2006 there's an explosion from 6 films to 20. And it just keeps growing. In fact, 2/3 of all Christian films were released after 2006. Not only that, but the budgets, the productions and the box office have all gotten bigger. So how did this happen?
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I.
There's one film that kickstarted the exponential growth of Christian film.
I think Passion of the Christ was a watershed moment for Christian films. It's like Christians around the world got together and said, hey Hollywood, we're here, we've got money to spend and we want to see movies that mean something to us.
Mel Gibson had been planning a film about the crucifixion of Jesus for many years, but had been told by a major Hollywood producer that no one will pay to watch this in a theatre. So Gibson sank $46 million of his own money into the production and relied almost entirely on Christians to market it. Churches organised screenings and built evangelistic events around the film. Was Gibson right? To the tune of $611 million worldwide.
Hollywood's always ransacked the Bible and biblical stories as fodder for its epics and blockbusters. So more recently, since Passion of the Christ, we've had Noah or Exodus trying to cash in on the success of Passion of the Christ. But neither of those two films have tried to be faithful to the subject matter. But at the same time, since Passion of the Christ, there's also been a surge in faith-based films that are directly targeted at Christians around the world, but particularly in America.
The results have been mixed. Low-budget films like War Room, Heaven is for Real, and God's Not Dead have all done major box office business, while Christian blockbusters like Ben-Hur, Samson and the Left Behind reboot have crashed and burned. Critics have been less impressed. Review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes has put almost every Christian film below the Hollywood average. There's been a few critical successes, such as All Saints, but most have been judged as average, mediocre, or awful. 2014's Left Behind with Nicolas Cage scored just 1% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I don't know why Nicolas Cage is in that movie.
Maybe Nicolas Cage is just crazy.
God's Not Dead was similarly panned by mainstream and some Christian critics. But many Christian critics and moviegoers embraced it, and it ended up making over $60 million against a budget of just $2 million. In the film, a Christian college student debates his atheistic professor, ultimately exposing the professor's prejudices against Christianity in front of the whole class.
I hate God!
It now has 2 sequels.
When you watch that kind of movie, I think you should be very struck by there is an identity crisis going on. For a long time, Christian movies were just seen as the underdog, quite rightly. Like they had low budgets, smaller stars, smaller scripts, everything was smaller. They were making things for like $5 and that sort of stuff. But now on the other side of Passion of the Christ and God's Not Dead, Christian movies that have actually made quite a bit of money, I don't think they can claim the underdog status like they used to. There's more money involved in Christian movies, there's bigger stars, there's better scripts, better direction, all that sort of thing going on. And yet at the same time, Christian movies would like to claim the underdog status, I think. It's almost like a marketing tool. It's almost like if you can keep telling people we're the small fry, the bigger studios are trying to crush us, or the rest of the world's trying to heap it on us, almost like a persecution complex to some degree. It's like Christian movie makers want to use that, capitalize on that, to get people to come and see their film, to say, oh yeah, we should support this little movie, even though so many Christian movies now aren't the little movies that they once were.
And what about the movie that started it all?
Now, you've got another film coming up, I hear, but they probably haven't started yet, called The Resurrection. It's a sequel to The Passion of the Christ. Is that true?
It's probably about 3 years off because it's a big subject.
Yeah, I've read the book.
Yeah.